guys. How have you been? Hope you've been well. Today, actually, last night was a pretty rough night for me. Not like anything wrong with the family or anything, but just couldn't sleep. I'm gonna be working from home today, just because once again, it's really, I don't know, it's just a lot. Just one of those work from home days, you know. So, why don't we just talk about the luck I got in getting my job? I don't think it can focus because it's pretty dark. Finding my job was actually very lucky as well. That's interesting. It used to focus, but now it's just not. So finding my job was actually something that took a bit of time. So, and it kind of goes with the luck deck that I've been telling stories about recently. So, after graduating, I think I spent about 2 months just kind of chilling, not really caring that much. But at some point, I could tell my parents were getting impatient with me just sitting around doing nothing all day. And this was the start of 2021. So the thing was that I have a certain pride about myself. For example, I really don't like when I didn't want to go into a field and not have a decently paying job just right then and there, which is a kind of an oxymoron or a paradox in today's era. Because my stats coming out of college weren't the best. I just went to college. I didn't have an internship or anything like that. So it was pretty evident that my first job wasn't going to be the best. The process of me finding a job was pretty rough as well. I applied for jobs that I felt like would suit me personally, like a research position or as a assistant in some way. But the more I continued with each application, it just got harder, so I started to lower my standards more and more. I went from applying for research positions, my bad, to just any job that I could feasibly go to. That wasn't like a Walmart or like a customer service job. I don't know, at least my pride coming out of college, I didn't want to work in customer service because in a way it felt like I wasn't doing anything with my degree. Like I wanted to feel like my degree was the reason why I got a job. And of course that was back then. Now, get anything you can get. This is just me telling you guys, like, hey, like, get whatever you can to just get a stepping stone first. Don't care about, all that other stuff. And I think the reason why I had this pride was because of the college I went to. Everybody in my college was working for Apple and Google and all these other places. And then there's me, and it's just like, I didn't want to work at a Walmart because I guess I was comparing myself to them. So I applied to a lot of different jobs, but the ones who responded back to me, that's a story. Applying to jobs made me realize what I didn't want in a job. The first interview I had was with this financial company. It was for a financial advisor position because I'm really good at math. But the issue came when they told me that it was fully commission based. And being someone who didn't really look into it, I'm like, yeah, of course I can do that, right? I kind of BS my way through that interview because I wanted the second one. But when I looked up what fully commission based was, I was completely terrified. So, for those who don't know, a fully commission based job is when you're paid based on commission on how well you've done. Like in sales positions, you have to meet a quota. If you meet that quota, you get paid. If you don't, you don't get paid. So imagine working for a month and you don't get paid. There would be no feasible way on how you would be able to get money. And sure, as a college student coming out of college whose parents, wanted him to stay in my position, I still didn't like the idea of me not being able to get paid, even under situations that wouldn't be my fault. Like, I didn't want to just go into the office and then, like, for example, people can just say no. What if every person I interact with says, no, I don't want your service for a month? There'd be no way for me to provide for myself, There were a lot of jobs where I got really close to saying yes and actually committing to it. But ultimately I said no. There's one job I almost said yes to, until I realized that it was at a COVID testing facility. And usually I would even, it wouldn't be a big deal, but this was at the height of COVID. And my parents and my family rightfully were fearful that I would come into contact with someone who had it and bring it back to our family. So ultimately I said no to that. And when I mean last minute I said no to it, I mean like I was getting ready, had the conversation, and told him I couldn't do it. I think this went on until like May. So I've been trying to apply and find something for 3 months and I couldn't find anything. So at some point, I just decided I'm gonna have to go through a hiring agency to find something. That was me putting my pride to the side and just saying, you know what, I need help finding a job. I went through an agency for my first job. I worked at a healthcare company, just going through documents for him. It was basically data entry. portion of it goes back to it. So instead of making, I think at the time I was supposed to be making $25 an hour. I was making 18. Another thing was that with my job, with this job in particular, it was a contract. And with this contract, it wasn't meant to go past December. It was only for about 6 or so months. And that job, in a sense, was weird. Because I never saw anybody's face. All the training was done online. The meetings we had, they would stress not to turn on your camera at all. I didn't know what my mentor looked like until I found him on LinkedIn and added him. But that was presumably my job. My first job. And here's where the luck started to kick in. My hiring advisor or talent acquisition specialist or whatever her name was, her title was, she said that she had one more opening for me after it didn't work out with the healthcare company, but she stressed that, like, if you don't get this and you don't get hired to full time, I don't think I can actually help you anymore. Because having those amount of gaps in between your jobs, it doesn't make you look good for other prospective hirings. And with my first job, it wasn't even my fault. They flat out told me that everybody's booked. Nobody we hired for this contract has ever been, converted to full time. They even said we had some that we really wanted to, but we didn't have the capacity to do it. So she reached out to my current company and said, hey, we want you to, I'm gonna mix it like this. Doesn't that look kind of cool? But anyway, she said, hey, I want you to do this interview and hopefully it goes well. And with this company, they're going to convert you to full time if you do well. So I had the interview. I was honest, but it was very clear that they could tell that I wanted to do well. So they took a chance on me. The person who hired me was actually the executive officer at my job. And he liked my honesty and my personality. So I began training and I trained my heart out. It was to the point where I made no errors, no anything. I was, on my P's and Q's. And ironically, the person who trained me is now like my best friend at my job. And she went back and told my interviewer, like, I've never seen anybody who worked as hard as he did. And sometimes I just think about the luck in finding that job, because everybody at that job is amazing. I'm really appreciative of my coworkers. I've been full-time for about 2 years, and I've been promoted twice so far. So I think everything worked out for me. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.